What I think is so interesting about the way that you guys are doing it is that you're bringing a skill set that is outside of that sort of core idea of what makes competent brewing or competent like beer brand building. Is that it's often seen as like nerdy dudes who are doing the chemistry huddled up in the corner, and there's almost a sort of elitism that feels inaccessible in a lot of ways.
True.
And I just love that you have this idea of, well, I'm a brand expert, so why don't I figure out how to craft a brand? And then that will frame a lot of what we do.
Exactly.
It'll frame our language of brewing,
Oh yeah.
which is so different.
Yeah.
What has that experience been like?
I love it. I personally love it because she gets to kind of build the rules, and I get to play inside the box with like something you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess from my perspective, I think to me it's like kind of going back to like the inaccessibility. I feel like it also like is something that like you don't really know the process too much about it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like me as someone who like has no background in science or in brewing, it to me was always like, well, what goes on to make this? So I like the challenge of like kind of like exposing that and just being like, hey everyone, like this is like day to day. Like sometimes we make a mess and sometimes it's like all it is just like cleaning kegs. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
like
that
it's
is
not
all it is.
like demystifying this like process that seems so like you said, like people like huddled over in the corner
Right.
like with beakers. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
how has that been for you? Like, are you just totally hooked with it? Do you look at it like an advertiser? Do you look at it through the lens, the sort of cultural lens too?
Yeah.
Because those seem like they're all
Yeah.
important to your brand.
I feel like it's almost like I can't help it. I look at it almost as like a customer because there's so many times like every beer release I'm like I don't understand, like you have to explain it to me like I'm 5, like what makes this beer different from the last beer we brewed. So I think having him explain it to me like that like helps with our like voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not what's the word I'm looking for? Like I feel like we can be like really like just like lay it all out. Like this is what it is. This is how we
Transparent.
made it transparent. Exactly.
Yeah. Try to be as transparent as
Yeah.
possible.
And what's important to me too is just documenting the experience as much as
Yeah.
I can. So I think, you know, when we have like the description and then like whether it be like pictures or video to go with it, I think it, you know, it helps like customers like understand like why should they come buy this? Like what does it mean to them?
Does it change the way people get into y'all? Like, who are you bringing a different crowd of people because they see you and you're translating essentially? You're saying like, listen, I'll tell you, I was a couple of days ago. I was at an event at one of the spots in the quarter that does brewing, and they serve out of their restaurant, and it was a really perfect example of just totally missing your audience. Where this guy who was a really, really, really good technical expert, really good, got up and went for 45 minutes and told us about the mash tun and then told us about the boiling and then told us about switching out with the different lines to make sure that there's no bacteria growing in the keg, and it might take 2 weeks to know that there's something growing in your fermentation keg and it's going to mess up your... And like 20 minutes into it, everyone had glazed over.
Yeah.
Everyone had glazed over. And if the guy had just said, we have 4 beers, we're going to put a little, excuse me, a flight in front of you. Try the one on the top left. You taste that? What? That's 11 pounds of candy. If he had sat down and said that, it would have made it so much easier for the folks who were sitting in the room, because they weren't technical experts, to actually understand what the heck was going on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Are you bringing a different type of person? Are you seeing something like that happen? Because to have 11 pounds of candy in your cream ale, it's the 11 pounds of candy that gets me first, and then I go, oh, it was a cream ale too.
Right. It's also 7%, so it'll sneak up on you.
It's gnarly.
I feel like when I like, you know, look at it from like marketing, like I really like the only thing I think about really is like I'm like I don't want this to be like a dudes only club. Like,
Yeah.
I want it like Miel is already like family friendly, so like we can have like kids and dogs.
And where do people find you in the city?
Like with like
The address.
like our address?
Yeah, where in town do we go? What are your facilities like?
We're actually right off Chapatulas. We're a block away from NOLA. So we have brewery neighbors, which is great. And
That's
so
awesome.
that area is kind of becoming a little bit of that
It is.
breweries row, like chop stop. I don't know what people are going to start calling it, but we're working on it.
Chop row.
Because you've got some warehouse, you can put tasting rooms in there.
It's a bunch
you
of
can-
cheap warehouses. The zoning requires us to be in kind of a MU1, MU2. We can't do it in a commercial zoning unless we're trying to open a restaurant.
It's got to be manufacturing
It has to
oriented.
be.
I see.
It has to be. So because of that, everyone's kind of shoved in their like little corners outside of neighborhoods and pushed away and doing all that kind of stuff. And so because of that, being next to the other breweries kind of is inevitable, but it's also a huge boon because if someone's coming in from out of town and they want to visit the breweries, they're going to take one Uber ride to 3 places,
Yeah.
and not the one Uber ride out in the middle of nowhere. So having brewing neighbors is great. The community is really strong. Everyone communicates with each other. Everyone talks to each other.
Yeah.
We're all pretty much friends. We all meet pretty regularly. And because of that, like if I'm running low on hops, I can call someone up and I can literally buy hops off of them. And they're like, yeah, great, have fun, get out of here.
Yeah.